Hey, and good Tuesday morning, everybody. Hope you guys are having a great day for today. A little late getting on here. I had a little technical problem. I had to reset my settings, so it happens sometimes. It's technology. Gotta love it. Welcome to the Weather Nerds YouTube channel. I'm your host, meteorologist Greg Majeski, your trusted weather source here, bringing you weather without all the social media hype. We got enough out there in the real world. Let's try to keep it straight and keep you on the narrow path, keeping you weather informed, staying prepared and not scared. That's our motto here. Hey, if you're new here to the channel, if you come into this after the live broadcast, it'd be a pleasure and honor to be one of your weather sources out there. So please consider subscribing to the channel and hit that notification bell so you're alerted on future content. If you ever have a weather-related question, please post it down below and give me a thumbs up. Helps with that little thing called the YouTube algorithm, which has really been kind of a death nail. Anyway, let's go ahead and get in today's update here for today. Yesterday's extremes, we had 16 out there in Manila, Utah. That was our cold spot yesterday, and Rio Grande Village, that is our hot spot, typically is this time of year at 103. So things not looking too bad around the country. One thing we're going to see on this report is we're going to see things getting a little active here for October. We got to deal with, probably going to have to deal with a hurricane with Melissa likely to form here in the next few days. That's going to be off the coast, but it's going to have an impact on how the weather pattern is going to evolve across the United States. We've got a big cutoff low feature for next week. We got a couple rounds of severe weather potential, one going in this weekend and then again early next week. So again, just a little active here as we're getting ready to wrap up the month of October, and some cold shots in there thrown there for good measure. So we got a lot to get into for this update here for today. Now let's go ahead and take a look at your current weather map here. Let me get off this mode here. There we go. As we're kind of looking at your current surface map out there, as we got this cold front, it's kind of reinforcing shots of cool air that's coming down here. This is going to race across the south, the east down here. Seasonally cold, not overly over the top cold, but definitely cooling things down, especially across the eastern third of the United States. It's got some pretty good rains this morning up across the UP of Michigan, I'll show you. A little rain across Maine as well, but the East Coast looking pretty quiet. Middle of the country also looking pretty quiet here. Quiet. I guess that's a Q, right? Yeah, let's do a Q. There you go. Quiet out there in the middle of the country. West Coast also not looking too bad here for your Tuesday morning here on the 21st. All right, let's go talk about some of that rain. We got some pretty decent rains here on the radar there. This is up there in the UP of Michigan at St. Marie there. Looking at some pretty good heavy downpours up there. That's beautiful country, by the way. If you've ever been up that part of Michigan, very, very nice indeed. Very pretty. And again, this rain will be kind of moving up into Canada as this whole system begins to shift off toward the east. Now, as far as Washington warnings concerned, a little breezy behind this front. See some of the wind advisories here and some cold. Got some of these freeze advisories out here in the higher elevations out there a little bit. But we're going to be looking at some pretty good substantial cold air, I think, coming down here. If everything goes, I think it will. And when you're a meteorologist and you're kind of looking at the forecast, you're kind of looking for patterns, and you're also kind of looking for logical progression of things. It's like a set of dominoes. I like to explain it like a set of dominoes. And what I'm seeing, I think, makes sense here in the next 10-day forecast, although I am a little bit of a disagreement with the Climate Prediction Center on a couple things I'm going to point out here in a second. Let's first talk about the tropics. This is going to have a play in our weather pattern here. Now, right now, not officially Melissa yet, but we're getting close. Probably going to get the tropical depression, if not a storm, later today. Tomorrow at the latest. We're getting real close to getting this thing kicking off right now. Looking at the satellite imagery, still undergoing a little bit of wind shear. I'm still seeing down there. I think the center of circulation is like right there on the edge. So we're not getting that thunderstorms over the core just yet. But I think it's going to be moving into an environment because it's moving so slow. And the upper level winds are going to die down. And we're going to see some, I think this thing can become a pretty substantial hurricane. The water temperatures down there are very warm indeed. And in fact, I can kind of show you that here a little bit here. As you look at the sea surface temperature anomalies, this is like bath water down here, very warm, above normal temperatures. Here's the La Nina you're seeing right there. But definitely looking at above normal water temperatures. So plenty of fuel for this thing to feed off out there. All right, so what we're going to be looking at here is we're looking at the ESON's ensemble model here. And what we're going to see, I'm going to let this thing loop back on through here again. So what you're going to see, this thing's going to kind of settle in this area and just kind of sit there for a little while, okay? There's a big trough that's going to kind of dig down here. They're going to pick this thing up and shut this thing off as we go into next week. And I'll show you that on the European model. The European model is kind of picking up on this. And it's a pretty substantial trough, so I don't see any solution where this thing does not get dragged up to the north. We'll see how close it gets to the Florida coast. We'll see about that. Like I said, but I think it's going to sit over that warm bathwater and become a pretty substantial hurricane. I think there's a good possibility for that, unless the wind shear is just doesn't let up. I think it's going to be a big storm. So Hopefully it'll stay away from South Florida and it just stays off the coast. So anyway, we're going to watch this very closely here in the days ahead because it's going to have an impact on once this thing clears on out, the weather pattern, especially the eastern third, is going to really get a little topsy-turvy there. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the thunderstorm risk. We're going to talk about our initial severe weather one that's coming up short term toward the end of the week. So let's talk about that. Let me get that up here for you real quick here. There we go, right there. And as you can see, right now, this is your day one outlook, just the general thunderstorm risk with that front coming on in here. I don't know if we're going to get any thunder here across our area, North Georgia, but they got that there toward Louisiana, and you're seeing up here. So this is that frontal system that's moving off toward the east. Day two kind of shifts into New England, and then we start shifting our attention back here to the west coast. You're seeing some general thunderstorm threat there, South Florida. It's day three, so we're talking about going into Thursday and Friday morning, that time frame, that we get our first initial severe weather here. I think we got another one going into next week, Sunday and Monday potentially there. So here's we're talking Norman, Amarillo, Lubbock. Some strong gusty winds, things like that, as this little disturbance is going to slide out of the west and actually slide into the southeast according to the European model on this. In fact, if it's still there on the afternoon run, I might have to up my rain chances for my area going in towards Sunday. So anyway, that is your breakdown right there. And again, we'll look at your excessive rainfall check here as well. Let me back this off a little quick. Back this off. Again, not looking too bad here for the. I know this has been a big topic this summer. Over the summer, we had a lot of heavy rain threats here, and over the next 3 days, we got nothing. So we're quiet there on the excessive rainfall. You don't have to worry about any flooding potentials, at least short term. Next week, different ball game. Next week, I think we're going to have some potential flooding, especially across the south. I'll show you those rain totals here in a second. They'll show you about that. So let's go take a look at the models. Let's look at that. Let's look at we're looking at the NAM, the 3 kilometer, and we're kind of looking at the latest run on this. So, it did reset. Hold on one second. Let me get this reset. I had to reset this computer to shut it down, so I had to pull this back up. There we go. All right, so here we go. So here's our storm system that's bringing down our initial cold front, our initial cool down. Going to remain unsettled across the Great Lakes and the Northeast. So we got a lot of unsettled weather up here. Nice and cold. There's the freezing line down to this way. So it is going to be unsettled across the Great Lakes. Even seeing this little snow there across portions of Canada, trying to work in across Minnesota, getting awfully close. Seeing that snow just across the border there. So this low feature is going to spin on down some cold air. It'll be cooling down across the eastern third. Mild in the middle because you got the cold air in the east. We'll be mild on the back side of this. And we'll see that. This, again, is a 60-hour loop. So this takes us out until we get into your Thursday or so. So once we get into Thursday, this thing we'll track it beyond there. Then we got another system approaching the west coast. They're going into Thursday late that night. We got one more storm system coming in there on the west coast to watch. And there's a piece of energy that's going to be diving down out of the Rockies. It's going to dive down here to the south. Again, you got this initial energy that's going to be coming out here on day 3. Here it is right here. See that little spin right there? That right there, that's what's going to kick out that severe weather here going to late Thursday or going into Friday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, going into Thursday, late Thursday into Friday morning. That's the track on that. Okay, get the math right in my head here. All right, so here we go. Let's go take a look at your rainfall. Not tremendous. Again, we don't have any flooding problems over the next 3 days, and so we're looking pretty quiet there. So right now through Thursday, not really looking that bad. A little bit of heavy rain up here across portions of the Great Lakes a little bit. That's where the heaviest rains are, with that upper level low kind of spinning around there with the low pressure system there. Southeast, a little bit of rain with that front coming on through. Not a whole lot there, but a lot of the country is pretty dry here going into Thursday. All right, temperature-wise, I got this thing looping right here. You get the cool air coming down across the east, and we're gonna have a warm up there in the middle of the country. So you see some of this, see some of that blue. That's at 32 degrees or colder weather there. So we got a little bit of that going on there, but you kind of see it settling in there in the east. We're going to warm it up back in the middle of the country there across Nebraska in the wake of this. So let me slow this down just a little bit here as we kind of back this up here. So as you can see here, going into your Wednesday afternoon, we're back into the 60s here across Nebraska and 70s across Kansas. So we got the cool air kind of shutting down this way behind that frontal system. And that kind of is going to cool off the eastern third of the United States. So as we go in towards your Thursday morning, for example, look, got some 30s in here across Minnesota, down toward Illinois. A lot of 40s, even 40s down here down to Florida. So we got some cooler weather here. Not bad. Not overly cold here across the middle of the country. Not as cold as it probably should be for this time of year. But at least a nice little cool down there. Now let's go ahead and talk about this. This is probably the most important thing I want to point out here real quick. Let's point this up real quick because this thing's uploading again. I don't know why. Every time I get a reset on this thing, it's been resetting a lot on these. So just bear with me for a minute to get this up for you here. Let me get my timestamp up for you here. All right, so what we're going to watch here is this is the latest European model. I'm going to show you the domino effect. Again, it's kind of watching A to B to C to D, that kind of thing. All right. All right. So the first thing we're going to track here, obviously we got this trough here in the east. That's what's bringing us the cool down here across the east. This kicks on out. Then you see that piece of energy coming off the California coast. That right there is what's going to be tracking our severe weather potential as this kind of clicks off this way. All right. And then we got this big, look at all this out of here. Look, all this energy coming in out of the Gulf of Alaska. Okay. So watch what happens here as we track that little disturbance across the south. That's what's going to bring our thunderstorms there across Oklahoma, going into the south. And then we got this piece of energy just dives. See that piece of energy kind of dives down out of the Intermountain region, goes right down to the south. Here's our tropical system down here. All right, and watch that little time stamp there. So we're gonna dig this little piece of energy, big trough. This is huge. I mean, big cutoff feature. You got a big high pressure here, big old loop here. We're gonna dive that thing down to the south. And whenever you get a trough like that and you pick it up a tropical system and you shunt it up the eastern seaboard like that, you're going to get a big trough on the backside of that thing. That's going to bring down a nice little cold shot on the backside of this. So it looks like unsettled next week. This feature coming to the south, very much needed. This is going to tap some Gulf moisture. It's far enough south. It's going to tap some moisture, drop some rains in across the south that needs it. Going to take whatever Melissa is, going to tear the crap out of it because of the high level winds. You can see it kind of, where it disappeared. It's just getting absorbed into the trough. So it kind of pulls on up. Look at this big trough on the backside of this thing. So we got a huge kind of trough here, kind of setting up here. And this is going to drive down some very cold air here on the backside of this. This looks very real. It's a long range model. I know this is going out beyond 10 days. But again, just looking at the sequence of events, that looks logical to me. All right. So now, if one of the things in that sequence doesn't happen, the next domino won't fall, then we got to reset. But for right now, this looks very convincing to me this is what's going to happen. All right, so you got the piece of energy coming across the south. We got the cutoff feature across the low, which has been there on every model run going back to Saturday. So the model continuity has been there. It's fluctuated a little bit where, but the cutoff feature has been there consistently. And I really think this thing picks this thing up. And when that hurricane observes into that, we're going to big trough on the backside. This nice little cool down on the backside. All right, so here we go with our short-term models here. Again, we'll go ahead and take a look at this real quick. Again, I don't know why this thing's resetting badly for me today, but it is. So we'll just deal with it. It's a live broadcast. All right, so here we go. We got this rain we're going to watch. We're going to watch this system across the south. Again, we got these thunderstorms we got to watch here going into your Friday. So this is where your thunderstorm threat's going to be. We got to watch for this coming in right through here. Here's our next storm system on the west coast coming on in here. That's going to dive off some of that energy and kind of dive it down to the south. All right, so let's watch this as I go forward. We bring that rain right across the Gulf Coast and into the south. And again, I was not putting a lot of rain in the forecast for Sunday for my area, but late night on Sunday, we got a little bit of a wedge here setting up in here. We got a little overrunning and some pretty good rains here across the south. And then we got this next piece of energy diving down behind this one. That's going to pick up that hurricane that should be down there in the Gulf. So here comes that piece of energy driving right down the south. Boom, right down into Texas. There's our upper low. Again, this is on Tuesday next week. Here's our low. We're going to tap some moisture in here, bring some nice rains across the southeast to help the drought conditions there. And then we're going to pick up that tropical system. There it is. That'll be our hurricane, most likely, coming across Cuba and stays over the Bahamas. So we got to watch Melissa there. And then this will bring some rains all across the southeast. It kicks on out. And then a nice big trough on the backside of this thing. Look at this. This is, again, I don't normally go out this far typically. But again, I'm trying to illustrate the point here of the big trough that's coming down behind this system. All right, so you got the big trough coming down here and much colder coming behind this thing as this thing comes on down to the south. So seeing the 540, the freezing line goes all the way down to North Georgia. So what this is going to translate to is that we're going to see a lot of places here probably get their first frost. Okay, I mean their first freezes. So, oops, sorry about that. Let me turn it back over there. I'm trying to grabbing the wrong thing here. I was trying to get my pen here, trying to get my pen to illustrate here, but it stopped working on me. Oh man, having a technical problem. There we go. So here we go. Here's our freezing line. So here's our freezing line. It's very cold air coming right down here over the Great Lakes. Yeah, look at a little bit of snow up there across the Great Lakes as well. Great Lakes are really warm, by the way. They're above normal. So when the lake effect machines gets going this year, it's going to be kicking in big time. All right, so let's go take a look at the rainfall totals here. Again, going through the next few hours. I'm obviously due for a computer reboot today, so I'm going to do my updates and restart my computer today. So look at all this heavy rain here across the south. It goes from Oklahoma, Texas, all across that. These about 2 to 4 inch rains, and some blues or even locally heavier, going 5-inch plus. But this is a 10-day total here. Shows some very nice rains here across the south. Very much needed because of the drought conditions. West Coast also looking at some very heavy rains as well, from Washington down into Northern California. A little bit of rains across Great Lakes, but it looks like the South, especially over the next 10 days, with that big drop-off low, is going to really kick in some very nice rains, and we got to watch for a couple of thunderstorm threats there. Obviously, the first one coming up to Thursday and going into Friday. All right, so let's take a look at your temperatures here. One thing I want to do about the temperatures I do want to show y'all is this big potential cool down. Again, I know I don't usually go beyond 7-day, but I'm doing it this time because I'm trying to illustrate the point of the domino effect of everything kind of falling on into place here with the sequence of events. So we got some cold temperatures there this week. So this is coming in for, again, going in toward Friday morning. That'll be kind of one of the coolest ones. You see, look at the freezing. Again, that blue is what you're looking for there for your sub-freezing temperatures here. So we got the cool down coming on here. You got some cold air out in the west here going into next week. And look at the Northeast. Northeast gets some 30s up there as well going into next week, going into toward Wednesday. Some pretty chilly there. They want to wait for this upper low to kind of kick on out. But watch what happens in the wake of this. Look at this. Boom. Look at this. Going in toward the third. So a lot of 20s and 30s in here. We'll see if this holds true or not. But we got a couple of pretty cold mornings here. And look at this going in toward the second. So look at this. The freezing temperatures from Minnesota all the way down into North Georgia. So I just wanted to show that cold air in the light of the sequence. If the sequence of events happens as being projected right now, which logically to me, I don't see a red flag. Sometimes when you look at the models, there'll be some sort of red flags that, well, that's not going to happen. But in the sequence of events with this thing, if this holds true, it all depends on that upper level low. And upper level lows, by the way, can be a little tricky too sometimes. So, we'll watch it. I'm going on the bet that the European model has been very consistent with this upper level feature diving down into the south and being there. It's been there on every run going back since Saturday. So it's been constantly showing that feature. It's where does that feature set up? Is it north? Is it south? Is it really far south? It's where it sets up. It's going to be critical to watch. Now, here's where I got a little difference with the Climate Prediction Center. This is for next week. All right. So my problem is it across the south. I don't know if it's going to be that warm. If we got that upper level low coming on down south like that is, you got clouds, you got rain, you got temperatures going to be running below normal. We got below normal out here on the west coast. I'm okay with this, but I don't concur with that on the 6 to 10 day. We'll see if they change that today or not. We'll see. Now this looks reasonable. Obviously above normal temperatures and precipitation across the southeast. Yes, that's in the cards. I'm okay with that. We're good there. And then as we go deeper into going into November, this goes out from October 28th to the 3rd. Then it kind of takes the southeast and turns us more into, near normal, below normal across Florida. We're kind of warm out here in the west, warm in the high plains and across the northeast. That kind of brings down that cold, it's sensing that cold shot coming down into early November. I think both these maps, if the European model today makes what we just saw overnight to continue to show that nice cold shot, the sequence looks like these two maps will change today when they're updated. So we'll see how that works out. And but a pretty active period, guys. I mean, it really is going here toward the end of October. A couple of severe weather potentials there. Got a hurricane to watch. Got a couple cold shots in there. Really kind of feeling more like November, to be honest with you, than October. November, I usually see something like this. So maybe getting a little bit early jump on this. So we got to watch the severe weather potential here. It doesn't look overly bad, especially the one going into early next week. But it's in the cards, something to watch. All right, that's y'all's update for today. Appreciate you guys checking us out. Nobody out on the chat this morning. So you guys take it easy. We'll see you tomorrow on the next update. Until then, you guys have a great day. We'll talk to you later.